Welcome to Art Bytes. These are short encounters with the collection of the Marianna Kistler Beach Museum of Art. My name is Catherine Slogic, and I'm the Associate Curator of Education here at the museum, and I will be your host today. And we will be looking at artwork by Ellen Lanyon, in particular Everglades Fan #1. Ellen Lanyon was born in Chicago. She gained her education at the Art Institute of Chicago and the University of Iowa. And then on a Fulbright scholarship, she studied at the Courtauld Institute of Art in London. Her work is a mixture of art, nature, and science. The artist recalled that during her first job as an intern in the drafting room of a Chicago foundry, she was trained to use an exacting realism to illustrate the workings of machine parts for the industry. This task required such attention to detail that its demand for precise observation and subsequent rendition has filtered down through the decades of my art making. In the late 1960s, she found a new source for her drawings, and this was a book that her son brought home called Mechanical or Magical Experiments or Science Play. And this was full of illustrations that were sort of surrealistic of scientific experiments, but really things that almost seemed impossible to happen. She was also very influenced by books of science drawings, and she collected many, many objects which she drew from, which you can see on the little cabinet of curiosities table next to the book. In the late 1970s, she moved to New York City, and she became involved in a group called the Heresies Collective. And this was a feminist art group. And she started creating pieces that took sort of feminine objects and then also nature and putting them together in a way that things almost seem to try to escape from the boxes. So here you can see 3 examples of Ellen Lanyon's work from our collection. The first, the thimble box, is one of these feminist pieces. And you can see that she's got the sharp scissors and the needles, but she's also got the natural things that are part of the box and the leaves that are escaping. The red-winged blackbirds is more representative of her natural work, but you can see that she has mixed, again, things with it that would not normally be there in sort of that floral ribbon pattern. And then finally, a later work called Burn Toast. And this is a really good example of some of her mechanical drawings. In 1975, she was commissioned by the Department of the Interior to travel to the Everglades. And what she was doing was to create some artworks for a bicentennial series. She had never been to the southeastern US. She'd never seen the tropical plants and wildlife in that environment. And working from sort of life, this was a real change for her. This was not just drawing from her cabinet of curiosities. This is a lithograph, and a lithograph is a print using flat stones or metal plates. The artist then draws the image directly onto the printing element using something like a lithographic crayon or special grease pencils. So it looks very much like a drawing. After this, the drawing is transferred from the plate to the paper in multiples. There's a chemical process involved so that the ink will stick to the greasy parts and not to the stone. The Everglades fan was designed to be cut out in pieces. So you're seeing the pieces here. Even the little antenna were separate pieces for this fan. So her time in the Everglades really allowed her to shift from sort of this cabinet of curiosities. And she said that after an introduction to the Everglades, I became acutely aware of the serious problems that face our world. That experience triggered a study of environmental issues that has led to the use of imagery that speaks to how the human hand of invention has altered our environment. These are two more examples of the Everglades Fan II, done in slightly different colors. So she revisited this idea over and over again. It can also be found under the title Snail, Dragonfly, and Heron, as the one on the left-hand side is. She says again, the work is unabashedly about survival. Its very exuberance exudes a perhaps unfounded optimism. The animal world itself can save us. I refuse to accept the fact that it's as bad as it is. Just as allegory and magic are transformative models for the human condition, all of Lanyon's work can be read as ecological. Thank you so much for joining me.